Hey everyone, you might recognize me and Eric here from the Nintendo Prime Podcast. I just want to let you know before you get into this segment that this merchandise you see on our shirts and on our cups and on anything else you ever see with Nintendo Prime branding on it, you can get in the description below. You can also get the full audio podcast, not segmented, in the description below. And if you would like early access to our podcast, please go over to patreon.com/Nintendo Prime. For $5 a month, you gain early access to the full audio podcast. And Mr. Eric, what do you get for $20 a month?
Ooh, you get to join us on a podcast.
That is right. So, if you would like to ever be on the Nintendo Prime Podcast, get your voice in front of thousands of other Nintendo fans out there, you know what to do. Hit up that $20 tier on Patreon. Anyways, folks, on to the episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 47, the first ever. I don't know why I said back. You know why I said back? It's 2018.
Yeah.
This episode was technically not recorded in 2018, but this is our New Year's special. Not so special. We actually had one guest who backed out, another guest who backed out, even though they didn't really back out officially. They just were online, said they were good to go, and they vanished.
Right.
Don't know. Internet issues. Maybe the kid happened, because I know.
Happens.
It was Game Over Jesse, by the way, if you're wondering. He's got a kid, so maybe something happened there. I don't know. I know how that goes. But we're going to kick off 2018 in an interesting fashion. Our first topic deals with the new year. Our second topic, for those wondering, we're going to be talking about the future of Nintendo systems past Nintendo Switch. Not because it was my idea. Tatsumi Kimishima, the CEO of Nintendo, talked about it.
Oh, boy.
If he's talking about it, I guess we got to talk about it.
Yeah, we do.
And then our third topic for tonight is going to be about how many Switches need to sell worldwide in 2018 for it to be a success. Again, because Nintendo put a number out there, and we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Topic 4 deals with the 64-gigabyte carts for Switch.
Yeah.
They do exist, but they're being delayed, and we're going to get some interesting stuff about that. And if we have time, which we're going to have time, topic 5, we're going to deal with the expectations for what we assume is a Nintendo Direct coming this month. Sometime in the next 30 days. Crazy. So, let's just get right into it. You know me. I'm Nathaniel Rufflegans. That's Mr. Eric Moore.
Hello, everybody.
It's 2018. Do you feel like a new person? Do you feel like it's another year?
All days run together now. I just, it'll take me a little bit to get to writing 2018. You know, same old stuff, different year.
Same old stuff, different year. I hope it's not the same old stuff, different year.
Yeah, me too.
I'm hoping that it's an amazing year.
Right?
Yeah, if I just talk about Nintendo Prime, I'm hoping like we gained around 10,000 or so subs once we made this YouTube channel, Nintendo Prime. This is a really silly goal. I have this like crazy thing where I want to be. We want to hit 100,000 subscribers.
Oh yeah,
that would go from 10,000 this year to 70,000 in 2018. A bit unrealistic, but you know what? Shoot for the moon.
Why not?
Other YouTube channels have pulled it off. Let's be the next one.
Oh yeah.
So I do want to comment a little bit here. We are using a new camera. This is the first podcast using the camera. It is the Logitech Brio 4K. Big shout out to Mama and Papa Prime. They got me this for Christmas. It's one of the most expensive webcams on the planet. It is the first webcam that supports 4K. No, we are not producing 4K podcasts. Not at this time, anyways.
Right.
Maybe down the line, because I want to get that silky smooth 60 FPS. And believe it or not, this is the first podcast, I think, in 3 months that is in 60 FPS. Crazy. So, I hope that you're enjoying the silky smoothness of 60 FPS. I do want to talk a little bit about some of the plans for the podcast this year.
Okay.
One is, we're already failing, but it was to have a guest every single week.
Hey, we attempted.
We attempted. So our goal is to have a guest every single week, whether or not it's our $20 Patreon backers. By the way, if you support us at patreon.com/Nintendo Prime for $20, you can be on a podcast every single month.
On a podcast.
And some of you might think, that's ridiculous. Well, we have 7 backers out of 10 that we allow. So a lot of people don't think it's so ridiculous.
Right.
So I believe next week we actually have our first $20 backer for sure is going to be on.
Okay.
Who couldn't make it last month, so they're going to be on twice this month.
Right.
First week that we record and the third week that we record.
Right.
For those who don't know, we always record the podcast a few days before it comes out. Our podcast generally releases on Monday. It's interesting because we're actually recording this before the current episode of the podcast is released. But holiday delays, that's the thing. It wasn't delayed on our end. We had it recorded on time, but our editor obviously was enjoying the holidays.
Exactly.
It is what it is. This is the only thing he edits for us. And you know what? Happy holidays.
Yeah, for sure.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's an amazing year if you had a crappy 2017. And heck, if you had a great 2017, hopefully 2018 is even greater.
Yep.
This is, you know what's crazy about 2018?
What?
Is I'm supposed to get married this year. The last time that was supposed to happen was 2014.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still the same person that was supposed to.
Yeah.
But there's been some on and off engagements with this one. This one, the only one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, things are going great there. So this for me could be one of the happiest years of my life.
Yeah.
Potentially. Yeah. Could also be one of the worst years of my life. Because she could just leave me at the altar. And she won't leave me at the altar. I don't think. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting year for me. For the rest of this podcast, besides having guests every single week, there's little things that I want to start doing over time. You guys just already saw a bit of our new format that we started this past week, where we go over the topics beforehand. There'll be timestamps to all these topics. I didn't mention that at the beginning, but I'm hoping that it just becomes something you guys notice naturally. One thing I'm trying to do is make this podcast have a regular flow, in that I don't cut off people all the time. Is basically what I'm. That's like my pledge, because I know here that we're going to have pledges for 2018. My pledge in 2018 is to work extremely hard at not cutting people off or cutting off Eric's thought process before he gets through it. Yeah, that's something I want to pledge to you guys out there, and to Eric, and to any other guests we have, that I want to hear more of you and a little bit less of me. I hear me all day long for all my other videos. You know what's interesting? We're recording with the exact same thing, and we don't look orange, but we look orange when I'm by myself. I just noticed this.
Yeah.
You guys.
I look pasty, actually.
Yeah, we are pasty.
Wow, pasty. I look extra pasty. Apparently.
Extra pasty. That's probably just because you're a little bit closer to that light.
Yeah, it's very
light's
true.
A little further away. But it's interesting. With two of us here, suddenly there's no orange. So one person that's orange. Again, little things we're working through with the new camera. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of pledging myself to. Do you want to make a pledge that's Nintendo Prime related, at least in 2018? Anything that you would like to do that you feel like would benefit our viewers? Anything you'd like to work on? I can think of one thing, but I can't give you.
What?
You gotta be your pledge. I can't.
What, that I talk more?
No.
No.
I mean, you could say that if you want, but
what? That I gotta come up with ideas?
No. I'm not telling you what my thing is. Come up with a pledge.
Yeah.
On the spot.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, you knew what this topic was like an hour before this podcast. But you had time. Not my fault you played tap sports baseball the whole time.
Yeah, but I didn't know what the heck Pledges 2018 meant.
You don't know what a pledge is?
No, I do. I just didn't know there was going to be...
Do you even have a pledge? Just throw it out there. Any pledge. Doesn't have to be Nintendo Prime related.
No.
Okay, exactly. Yeah, so don't use the I didn't know what you meant by pledges.
Well, get out of here. I didn't know we were going to make pledges.
Well, what do you think it says? Pledges for 2018. What is that supposed to mean? Well, when you see that on the topic list, Eric, what does that mean to you?
I thought you were going to make something up. I didn't know I had to.
Well, you're part of the team, bro.
Yeah.
I can't make a pledge on your behalf.
You could. You do it all the time anyways.
Pledges? I don't pledge on your behalf.
All right. I'll try to talk a little bit more.
You know what's going to help you talk a little more?
What?
Play some more games this year.
Yeah.
I think that's a pledge just for your... I'll even say for your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pledge that you love playing games. You actually played a lot more Breath of the Wild than I thought you did, because you played more of it in the last month or so.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I'm hoping... because, like, how many Switch games did you even play this year?
Breath of the Wild, Odyssey...
Did you beat Odyssey yet?
No.
God. No, not even close?
No.
It's okay.
I think I've played maybe 2 hours of it.
Okay.
I know.
It didn't suck you in like Breath of the Wild.
No. I'm just crazy busy. Working 2 jobs, Again, same old crap, different year. Mario plus Rabbids. little bit of Lego City Undercover. I think that's it.
Yeah, so that's not too bad for someone who hasn't been really gaming much at all. I'm hoping I want to get you to hit the 20 game plateau this year.
No,
Okay?
all right. So
That's what I'm hoping.
A quarter of the way there, or fifth of the way there. So
because I look at this as on this podcast, one of the things I can't do is obviously know what your thoughts are on certain things. Like if we decide we're going to talk about Kirby or talk about Yoshi, well, if you haven't played it, you're not going to have much to say, right? I mean, you might have your opinions on based on what you've seen in footage, and that's fine. Like that's the same amount of knowledge I have. Once the game is out, it's like, okay,
right, I
want to talk about it. But if you haven't even tried it, and then you don't even have to buy it. Like, I have games I borrow to you. Like I have Doom. You could have borrowed Doom from me if you want to try it out. So that's one thing I'm really hoping we can get for you this year is not just like, I don't want to like twist your nipples and be like, hey, you need to play some more games because it's better for the podcast. I want it to be because you want to, right? I want it to be something you want to do. I feel like you have a desire. Here's what I know about you, right? Yeah. Life sucks sometimes. And you have some rough days. Yeah. And when we were younger, those rough days went into video games. They still do sometimes. Like when I have a rough day, I'll see what you're doing, and we'll sit down and play some video games. Right. But that always can't be the case. Sometimes we can't hang out. So like what I'm hoping is you get into even more video games this year on Switch, because I'm sure there's other ones out there interested in. I know you're interested in ukulele. Yeah. And apparently ukulele's like best version is on Switch supposedly. So
and I know I got to pick up Golf Story too. So
Golf Story, you're gonna love it.
I know.
So you're not gonna be able to put it down. Yeah, it's gonna be bad. I haven't beat it yet. That's the funny thing is I sing its praises. I still haven't beaten it because I'm savoring it. I play little morsels of it every week, just savoring it. So that's just something I hope that happens naturally. Right. I think it's already slowly happened as the year went on, because for a long time it was just Breath of the Wild, and then all of a sudden, towards the tail end of last year, you started picking up a bunch of games. Right.
Well, that's because more of the games that I was interested
Mario
in
plus Rabbids that you were going nuts about, Odyssey, obviously. Yeah. All that stuff. Lego games, you like Lego games.
Although this one was, I don't know, I only got a little bit into it, and it didn't.
Did you at least get to the Titanic joke?
I don't think so. But
it's like one of my favorite jokes in the whole thing.
Yeah. This one just didn't pull me in as much as the other ones have.
Well, it's a very different kind of game.
Yeah. It is.
It's like a Grand Theft Auto Lego game. That's kind of the idea of it. Obviously, because you're a good guy. Right. But yeah, what's Legos? Well, I guess you could be bad guys in some Lego games, although they're usually heroes or something like that. Yeah. Any other pledges that you could think of that aren't podcast related, maybe? Even like a personal goal. You just want to get on the record out there.
Well, I know I'm trying to get my weight down. I know, and it's coming down. I'm down 20 pounds. So
no, and that's the one thing I say is when I was going through some of the old footage, like even from on the old channel, the old YouTube channel we had, and I looked at that. I haven't changed much. No big surprise, but you've gone down in weight, and it's like noticeable when you go from there to the current episodes, or even like 4 months ago to now. And that's the thing. Like a lot of people will say that every year, right? This year I want to lose 20 pounds, or 50 pounds, or whatever it is, but then they never do it, or sometimes they gain weight. But you're already on that path before you started the year, which is nice.
Right. And I just got to get back onto what I was doing, and so...
And stick to it.
Right. Oh, no, for sure. It's hard it's really hard over the holidays, and that's not an excuse.
The holiday, yeah.
That's not an excuse.
I always say there are times when you can break your diets or break your habits.
Right.
Holidays don't last forever. It's usually a couple weeks, you're done.
Right.
It is what it is. Thanksgiving, stuff your face, whatever. You can have your cheat days or your cheat weeks if you need it. As an example, if we somehow go to E3, you think I'm going to give two craps about my diet when I'm gone? No, I'm worried about my coverage. We're standing up all day long in lines and everything.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's not the norm, right? It just can't be the norm.
Yeah, right.
I myself, obviously, I've been looking out for my weight too, because I'm not happy where I'm at. I'm not happy. It was actually funny. We did a family photo during Christmas, and the first comment when I looked at the photo was, "I look like a blumpkin." Totally making fun of myself. You can fat shame yourself. It's okay.
Yeah. I do it all the time.
And I've known for a while that I need to lose weight. Despite the fact that like my recent physical, they're like, "Yeah, you're perfectly healthy, nothing wrong," but your weight probably is going to gives you all these higher risks for things to happen in the future. So like right now, at age 31, you're technically healthy, but if you keep living this way, there's a more than likely chance I'm going to be adversely affected in the future. There are adverse effects already that just come with being, out of breath quicker. You guys notice that even sometimes in my videos, I can't speak for as long as sentences as I want, despite the fact that I speak a lot. Lots of pauses to breathe. Yeah, that shouldn't be there. Or some people even noticed when I was recording just like single videos, sitting down here talking to these mics, they'd be like, "Man, you really sound breathy or out of breath." All I did was go upstairs and back downstairs. And suddenly they can tell. Like, I know that I am a little out of breath, but they can tell. And it's like, no, that shouldn't. Just going up and down my steps like once shouldn't make me feel that way.
Right.
And I noticed that, like, out playing with my kids at the trampoline park, even when I was playing volleyball this past summer, which is something I dedicated myself to because I like volleyball. I like interacting with people. I like getting out of the house. So, like, that ensured I would stay active at least once a week. Because it's always good to keep my body active. I'm surprisingly athletic. It's really weird. Yeah. How a handspring flip, I can still do it. I don't know how the heck I can still do it at my weight. Yeah. But I can still do it and it doesn't hurt. Yeah. It's going to hurt someday. I'm going to do it and I'm going to break my back.
Or your knee.
Or my knee. Well, my knee has issues of its own all the time.
Oh, right.
I'm actually surprised it's never buckled while doing it, especially as I've gained weight. Interesting. First time for everything, right? Yeah. So, I'm not going to set any expectations on myself to lose 100 pounds or whatever. I mean, 100 pounds would be ideal. I'm not going to lose 100 pounds. I'm never going to that's like back down to high school weight. That's never going to happen. But, I do have like this internal goal where I want to lose about 70-ish. I'm happy at that 70-ish weight loss. That puts me back down to what I was like 6 years ago. And I'm okay at that weight. It's not the healthiest weight in the world, but it's something I know I can maintain because I know what I was doing back then to maintain it. And back then it was things like, I would have those shakes, but I would do them like 3 days a week. I was a lot more active. The funny thing was I wasn't necessarily working out, but I was going out to the bars a lot more often, but I wasn't going to like just those bars where you just shoot pool and play darts. I was dancing, and I was dancing for like 6-7 hours. Right. So yeah, I was drinking, but I was sweating it all off and dancing. And that, for anyone who knows anything about dancing, even if you're not good at it, if you're doing it for 7 straight hours, 3 days a week, it's a workout, man. Even if there's some alcoholic beverages involved, which only made me dance even harder. Yeah. The more tipsy you get, the more crazy you get. So I actually was. It's funny. Me going to the bars was actually helping maintain my weight. My weight like stayed the same for like a year and a half while I was doing that. And I'm not saying that I want to get back to that life. I have 3 kids now. I can't really do that. But what I want to do is, I think this is a realistic goal. Is when I sit at this desk a year from today. When we're talking about Happy New Year's in 2019, I just want to weigh less than I do now. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. If it's 5 pounds less, whatever. It's 5 pounds less. I lose 5 pounds every single year for the next 10 years. I'm fine. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to commit to any specific diets. I've already cut down on my portion sizes. I've already started, not today so much because of issues I had last night, but I've cut down on my soda consumption. I've been ingesting more water. I mean, even Eric, I think, might be surprised to look around and actually see water bottles on my desk. That's not something that's usually in my office because I'm trying to drink more water. So there's little things I'm doing. I have a gym membership. I'm trying to make it a 3-day-a-week thing. Right now, I'm only dedicating to 2 days, but I want to make it 3. Today was actually supposed to be one of the days, but whatever. Yeah. You know what? Technically, the week this podcast comes out will be the New Year, so that's when I'm hoping to stick to it. And a lot of people say that, and that's why I say I don't. It's going to be hard sometimes. My life can be hectic, but I just want to weigh less a year from now than I do today. However much it is, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, maybe I'm 40 pounds down. I don't know. I know just quitting soda, I can lose 20. I know I'm not going to quit soda. Not outright. So not now, anyway.
Caffeine,
but I can cut back. I know I can cut back. That I can do. I can. To give you guys an idea, I can easily drink a 12-pack a day, no problem.
That's not that hard.
And I really shouldn't. I should limit. I mean, this might even sound like a lot to people. I'd like to cut down to 4 cans, be done. 4 cans spread throughout the day. Some people say, "Oh, just switch it with tea or switch it with coffee." I don't like coffee. I don't like tea. Yeah, that's the problem. The things that are a little bit healthier for you that have the caffeine kick, I just don't like. that sucks.
The other thing I could think of would be there's the great value with energy.
Yeah.
They got caffeine in it.
Yeah.
They work ish.
And no, I'm not switching like those 5-hour energies.
Oh, God.
They
don't work for squat.
Pound 4 of them and tell me they don't work.
Oh, no.
You might die. Your heart will explode.
Yeah, no.
But they work.
There was 4 of us. We all were like, yeah, we're going to drink these 5-hour energies and we're going to be good. We were all asleep within a half hour.
Well, and you have the kind of caffeine consumption you do. A 5-hour energy is like half a can of soda to you.
Yeah.
You need to have a lot more.
Yeah, but one of the people was my sister, who doesn't drink a lot of soda.
Maybe does she have a lot of mixed drinks all the time with soda? Because if she's having mixed drinks, many times a week, or whatever. I'm not saying that she's a drunk, but I'm just saying
no.
She has a social life and she has mixed drinks with soda. She might be drinking more soda than she realizes.
Yeah.
So she might have got used to caffeine. Anyways, whatever the case may be, that's kind of a personal pledge. I have some other pledges specific to Nintendo Prime, but I'll have a separate video about what's going to happen in Nintendo Prime in 2018. What my roadmap in 2018 is. By the time you watch this podcast, hopefully that video is out, because I was going to release it the Friday before the podcast came out, which is technically tomorrow.
Right.
So I'm hoping that happens. So yeah, whatever the case may be, you guys let me know your personal pledges, whether it be gaming related, whether it be, maybe you want to lose some weight this year or start working out a little more, eating healthier, or maybe you just want to get a new job. Maybe you want to move into a new place. Maybe you'd like to start a family or get married or whatever the case may be. Let me know your pledges down in the comments below for this year. I guess I should throw out a gaming specific pledge because I kind of talked you into a gaming pledge. The one thing I want to make sure I do this year is continue to expand my horizons, exploring different games. This past year in 2017, I played more video games than I have played in a long time, probably since I was a kid. Even though I've been gaming this entire time of my life, it's been really like I'll play Madden every year. I'll play NBA every other year, so I'll get the 2K game. I'll play a baseball game when it was available.
Right.
I'll play because I like sports games. I'd play Assassin's Creed here and there. I wouldn't buy all of them. I'd always get the new Zelda game. Sometimes I get a Mario or a Mario Kart, but it was very sparing. Like on average per year, I'd maybe play 4 games. And that one of those games was probably World of Warcraft that I've been playing every single year for the past 13 years of my life since it came out. 14 years, I guess, since it turns 14 this year. So it's interesting thinking back on this year, like just how many games I have on my Switch. And part of it is just that I love the Switch that much.
Right.
But the other part of it is that I get to do this for a living now. I don't necessarily get to play games for a living, although I do game reviews. So, by the way, first month we're doing official game reviews because we hit our Patreon goal.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully it maintains. I don't know if the goal is going to maintain. But for now, at least this month in January, we will be reviewing a game. And I don't know at the time of this recording, I don't even know what that game is yet.
Yeah.
But I am looking forward to that because it lets me closely and in-depth examine games, not just play them as a gamer, but I like reviewing games. I've reviewed many Zelda games over the years. I've semi-reviewed other games by being on other people's podcasts.
Right.
But yeah, I just want to continue to expand my gaming horizons. I mean, who thought at the beginning of this year that I knew I'd play Zelda and Mario Odyssey? Right. I didn't know I'd be playing ARMS. I didn't know that I would be playing Splatoon 2. I didn't know that I would be playing Golf Story. I didn't know that I would be playing, I'm trying to think of, Desagia 5. I didn't buy the game, but I had a high desire to play the demo, and I played the demo all the way through. Didn't know that was going to happen. Project Octopath Travelers. Now I want that game. Yeah. After playing the demo and beating both stories of it. There's so many games that I played or at least attempted to try out this year that I would have never done before. Not just because of Nintendo Prime. Nintendo Prime is a big reason for it because it affords me the time to do it because anytime I do explore, it can turn into content for Nintendo Prime. That's what's so nice about this job is that I can justify buying games because it actually goes to support the channel.
If anything, it's just background footage.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, that's another thing in 2018. Like, you're seeing me on camera now. I'm going to be on camera for most of 2018. Almost every video I make is going to be on camera, unless I'm not feeling well, or I'm having technical issues, or I just don't have time. There's still going to occasionally be voiceover gameplay videos, but I want that to become more of not the norm. And if you do see gameplay footage, it's one because I created Nintendo Prime Plays videos, which are just where it's just me trying out a certain game or showing off a boss from a game or something, just showing off some gameplay from a game I'm playing, and seeing if you guys like that kind of stuff. It's instead of doing it live all the time, right? I do live streams of playing games, but doing a non-live environment where I'm purposely setting up a situation to record for your hopefully viewing pleasure. As an example, the final boss in the Breath of the Wild DLC. I think it would be really cool if I went back and did that fight and maybe put some restrictions on myself, like can't use any food items during the fight, or I can't, like whatever health I have and whatever Mipha's Grace gives me, that's it. I can't do anything else.
Right.
Not using Urbosa's Fury at all. You know, just making it more challenging on myself and seeing what you guys think of a video like that. And it would still have me on camera, but it would be me with the green screen. So it would be like me, green screen footage. I don't know. I'm thinking of different ways to implement gameplay footage. What are you laughing about?
We need to bring back the how many ways you can die in the Breath of the Wild video.
One of the first videos I made from E3.
Yeah. I need to bring back how many ways you can die in Breath of the Wild.
There are so many ways to die in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, I know, right?
So I guess that's kind of my gaming pledge, is to continue the growth as a gamer I've seen this year for myself. Expanding my horizons, getting back into game genres like JRPGs that I have been out of for a long time. And I'm happy. And I want that to continue in 2018. And I hope by 2018 I've doubled or tripled my Switch collection because I want to. Not because I'm pledging to do it, but because I want to do it. So... And even if it's not Switch, it could also be PC games. It could be Xbox or PlayStation 4, whatever. But I just want to keep expanding my horizons because it adds perspective to our conversations, I feel.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the second topic. It says, what's your ideal future for Nintendo systems post-Nintendo Switch? And this is brought up because Tatsumi Kimishima decided to bring up, like... For some reason, out of the blue, wasn't even asked a question in the interview. It's like, hey, let's by the way, we're always thinking about the next system, right? It says preferences and consumer preferences always change. I got some bullet points here. These bullet points came from Go Nintendo. Great site. And it says, however, consumer preferences always change and technology also continues to evolve. And he gives an example. AI has been used more often, such as the AI smart speaker. And if you go to my second YouTube channel, I have that linked in the description. I actually did kind of an unboxing and kind of a semi impression video of the Google Smart Home speaker, the mini one. So I do have some experience and actually know what he's talking about for once. For once, someone brought up something that, like, if they bring up all this VR stuff, I don't have a ton of experience, but they brought up something I actually own. Right. Interesting that Nintendo's even looking at that. Right. And it says Nintendo has to keep thinking about whether to include such technology until the very end. And in this case, he's referring to his example of a smart speaker. And it says, if Nintendo has already decided right now on how the next game console would be like, they would no longer be able to take action. So what he's saying is that they decided right now, this is what the Switch successor is going to be, that if anything new happens, they can't implement it. So they don't want to lock themselves in until a lot closer to let's start producing these things. Right. And then it says Nintendo also needs to think about the release timing in a flexible way. Ooh. So. Okay. Tatsumi Kimishima basically handing us a big fat turd in our laps and be like, look, I don't want to talk about the future, but I want to talk about the future. And it shouldn't be surprising because this is the first system that he is really the head of. Right. You know, Satoru Iwata and what was kind of one of the brainchilds behind Switch. Now this is his baby. This is his first go at something from the ground up. So... What do you want, Eric, from a successor to Switch?
I don't know. I mean, I love the Switch the way it is. So, I mean, I necessarily what I want. I don't know really what I want. Where I can
They always say most consumers don't know what they want until they get it, right?
Right, exactly.
Man.
Right. There's a few ways that I can see him going. Mainly having some sort of VR experience in some sort of capacity, because I have a feeling that is going to be something that is fairly big in the future, just in all gaming realms. Okay. Don't know why. I just
you like VR. At least you like the concept.
I love the concept of it. Yes.
The execution is not always the greatest, but there are some good VR games out there now.
Right. And I think the longer we go, and the farther we go into VR, I think the better the technology is going to get, obviously.
Sure.
And you never know. At some certain point in time, we might be launching satellites that will, instead of having, things up in the corner of your room, satellites will be finding your position within the game.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
It might be highly illegal, but who knows what the government's doing with the current satellites.
I was going to say, you can already track you with your phone.
Yeah, we still have a problem catching certain people.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I think the future is interesting to me in that I love the Switch. And the last thing I want to see Nintendo do right now is go back in time. So I don't want them to go back to having two separate devices. So a home console and a handheld, which means I want them to keep the hybrid. Which means the Switch successor to me is basically, I'm almost asking for, kill me if you want, guys, an iterative console.
Right.
Not like the Wii U. No.
Right.
But more like a Switch XL or a Switch 2. That's essentially what the Switch is, but more powerful.
Yeah.
Can do VR. They already have a patent for a VR capable headset for it. Can do, maybe better motion controls or better feeling Joy-Cons or something. But maybe still cross-compatible with the old Joy-Cons. I don't know.
Right.
So I always felt like what Microsoft and Sony are doing right now is similar to what smart devices have been doing for a while. So Microsoft and Sony, they released the PlayStation 4, and then they've always done like slim versions. I'm not counting those per se.
Right.
But PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and then there's PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox One X. The Pro and the X are both significantly more powerful than the base PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And heck, the X is actually significantly more powerful than the PlayStation Pro itself. Whatever, if you care about getting into the power argument between consoles. But the thing about all of that, and why I bring it up, is that those are iterative consoles.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I want the Switch to do. And there's a lot of people that aren't really into that idea.
Right.
Because I don't know why. I don't know. As long as the system, like your base Switch and the new Switch can all play the same games, just the new Switch has like higher frame rate, higher resolution.
Right.
I don't really know what the issue would be. Why people have issues with that? It's not like your old Switch is obsolete. Think about all the people that hop on the latest smartphones, but like the smartphones from 3 generations ago still work just fine.
Right. Well, and it's like, granted,
and they get the same apps for the most part. There's always some specific apps that need that speed. Right. That's going to be the case. Like the new Nintendo 3DS, you could play Xenoblade Chronicles on there, but you couldn't play that on the base 3DS. Same with, oddly enough, with Minecraft. You can play that on the new Nintendo 3DS, but you can't play that on the base 3DS. And that's always going to be a thing, but a vast majority of the 3DS library can be played across the 3DS and the new Nintendo 3DS.
Right. Yeah, that's where I was going to go actually with that.
Sure.
Because, when you look at the Nintendo 3DS, you got the 3DS, and then you got the new one.
So Nintendo's already done it.
The XL,
And the thing is, Nintendo's done this iterative thing back during the DS. You can even argue they've been doing it back during the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Game Boy Advance, Game Boy,
Advance,
the Game Boy, Color.
Yep.
Game Boy to Game Boy Color. I think it was Game Boy to Game Boy Pocket, then Game Boy Color.
Right.
No, I actually owned a Pocket. Not many people did. Color was kind of when people started transitioning from the OG Game Boy.
Right.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Going from, I was about to say, black and white. Wasn't it more like green and black? Something like that.
Yellowish.
It was like green screen.
Yeah.
Weird,
Yeah.
Cheap technology. Yeah. But whatever, got the job. It got the job done.
Yeah,
got the job
exactly.
done. And then, and that's with handhelds, right? They haven't really done this with a home console, per se. I don't remember. I mean, the Wii, I guess, had a revision. Because you had the Nintendo Wii, and then they had the Wii Mini, which was like this little red and black box that came out like at the end of its life.
Yeah.
You couldn't have Wi-Fi or anything. I don't know why that thing existed. It looked cool, I guess. Like HMK probably went wild because the themes of his YouTube channel colors are red and black.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Hey, red and black Wii fits right in.
Yeah.
I guess if you have a PC or desk setup that's themed red and black, that would be like a little cool thing to have in there. But besides the color scheme, it was kind of like, why? What did I just pull? Oh, I just crushed my Google Home.
Nice.
Speaking of AI. So there's that. I don't know. I've always been about the iterative thing. I like iterative consoles. I liked Nintendo to me was at their best when they were doing iterative things. You had the Game Boy Advance, and then they brought the SP out, and the SP was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
They had the 3DS, but the new Nintendo 3DS fixed the lag in the UI and allowed you to play almost console-level games. Xenoblade Chronicles, as an example, from the Wii was on there. You had, if you even want to talk about iterative in terms of generations, SNES to NES to SNES. It was a souped-up NES. That's why it was called Super NES. It was a system twice as powerful as the NES.
Right.
If you actually even look at what PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and Pro are, they're all just like more powerful versions of each other.
Right.
Granted, I know there's more complexities, different architecture, blah, blah, blah. But you get my idea. It's like basically you're buying the same system but more powerful every generation. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Nintendo hasn't necessarily always been that way. They were that way for a while with consoles. Yes, they were always adding more buttons and sticks and tried the octopus thing with the N64. But the reality is the base system was just whatever, last generation, more powerful.
Right.
Here's last generation's games using more powerful hardware. And then they got out of that with Wii. And then they kind of tried to
understandably,
do
though.
Yeah, understandably. They had
those control schemes were so vastly different than the rest of them. Sure.
So, and the thing is, a lot of people when they get upset when you say, because I brought this up before the iterative console thing, and people are, how can you do that? That's so un-Nintendo. Like, I just brought up a zillion examples of Nintendo doing this. They just did it. They just did it this current generation with 3DS.
Yeah.
And a lot of you guys aren't complaining. In fact, most of you guys probably upgraded to the Nintendo 3DS. Or if you didn't upgrade, that's the version you bought. Or now, this year, the new Nintendo 2DS XL. It's a very interesting thing to think about what that could be like for Switch.
Right.
Because to me, I feel like that's the future of Switch. A Switch XL or Switch Mini. Even I don't want a Switch Mini per se. Whatever, if they make one, it is what it is.
The pocket Switch?
Just like with the Game Boy Micro, I just don't think it's a good idea. I understand the people that want it. A more portable version of Switch. I get it.
Right.
I understand it, but the Switch's name infers docking with your TV, and a smaller version of Switch isn't going to work with current accessories and docks. It'll work with, like, the third-party docks. It still uses USB-C, but, like, the current dock, if you shrink down that Switch anymore, it's not going to fit in there.
For sure.
So, like, to me, you're starting to have compatibility issues with current stuff, and I think when it comes to Switch, as long as, if they're going to brand their next console Switch something, whether it's Switch 2 or Switch XL or whatever they choose, new Nintendo Switch, because they like that new name.
Yeah, the new Nintendo Switch.
As dumb as I think that name is, whatever. It's ingrained down Nintendo fans anyways.
Yeah.
Then everything needs to be cross-compatible.
Right. Yeah.
For the most part. As I said, there could always be those couple games that push the upper limits that they don't want to downport to the old hardware, but...
Right. I mean, you're going to have the point where eventually all the games coming out are going to be just strictly for the new system.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is also the way I look at it as... If they're releasing a new Switch, they're not just going to do it... Because Nintendo doesn't like... giving you just a more powerful something. They always want to do something unique. Like the Wii U could use all the Wii accessories and was by all means basically an HD Wii that didn't play Wii games in HD, had to have new Wii U games. But they had to throw the gamepad in, right? They had to do something different because that's just we can't just give you something more powerful. Now after the Wii, we can't do that anymore. We have to do something new and innovative. And that's why I like your idea when you said the VR stuff. He's bringing up the AI speaker. It would be interesting if like the Switch 2 or whatever it is basically looks the same.
Right.
But it's so powerful now that VR is a possibility. That it has an OLED screen, that's 1080p or 4K, which is what you basically need to enjoy the kind of VR experience it can do where, you plop it in a headset. It has to be somehow lighter, so it's not as heavy on your head. Or at least the support would have to be built in a way where it doesn't feel heavy.
Right.
And I don't know if that means they have to have it like go down your back a little bit or something. I have no idea. Nintendo will figure that out in their designs. And then obviously the AI thing. I think that is something that if these at home, smart speakers and stuff continue to be a thing, they could throw AI in there too.
Right.
Like waking up your Switch with your voice.
True. Okay. I was just
navigating the menu with your voice.
One of the things that I was going to ask you, what would you really do with that then?
Switch, record that. Instead of having to hold the button down for your 30 seconds. Switch, record that.
Right. Yeah.
Hey Switch.
Yeah.
Go to Netflix.
Right.
Hey Switch.
True.
Launch Breath of the Wild. Sorry, can't do that because you don't have the cartridge inserted.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
wow.
Switch. Put the cartridge in.
The cartridge in, yeah. Thanks.
Bring back Rob the Robot.
Right.
Get him to do it.
Yeah. No, I just actually thought of something that would be absolutely awesome.
Let's hear it.
Holographic games.
Okay.
You set your Switch on the floor, on the ground, face up, projects up, sit down, and go for it.
Here's the thing. That sounds amazing. It really does sound amazing. Imagine if they added that to like a video chat thing too.
That would be awesome.
Where you could video chat that way. I don't know how they would do it. There would have to be like a camera accessory or something. I don't know. But as amazing as that sounds, it feels just like the 3D and the 3DS would be more of it's a cool gimmick.
It's a gimmick, yeah.
Well, but people aren't going to use it.
You know?
Like, I'm not, and by the way, I'm sure many of you guys do use the glasses-free 3D on your 3DS. Right. But honestly, that's probably not why you bought the 3DS. You bought it for the games.
Right.
You know, I think a vast majority of 3DS owners probably don't even turn the 3D slider on.
Yeah, no.
Maybe they did when they tried out the AR games it comes with, and then after that they're like, it was neat. Cool. It was neat. Okay. Oh, AR games, I can do that with my phone now.
Yeah, right.
So it's not really as impressive these days.
But I mean, how cool would that be?
That would be cool. Well, especially like when I was out doing some Christmas shopping this year, it wasn't necessarily a projector, but now they sell like these cube things that start doing like projections into the cube from like your phone. Oh, and I'm like, this is really cool.
Interesting.
And that's obviously, I don't know if that's going to catch on and be a thing now. Yeah. But obviously, holograms have been like a dream of sci-fi nerds everywhere.
Right. Oh yeah.
And being able to have hologram game would be cool. I think that's just too far reaching for a possibility.
Well, it won't be maybe that this next.
But people probably said that
iteration,
about people probably said that about 3D games when Virtual Boy came out too. So they attempted it.
Right.
So who knows? Nintendo can be crazy and do that. I don't know. Like I feel like even if they go iterative here, they're not going to sell it on it being iterative. They're not going to be like, oh, it's a more powerful version of this. They're going to be like, sure, it's a 4K Switch, but it's 4K because VR, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And at launch, we're going to have RE7 VR and all these great VR games that have been winning Game of the Year or whatever. We're going to throw that on that bad boy.
VR.
Yeah, imagine if they could make it so all of their... I don't know how you would do that. How all of your games are VR. I mean, they could do the pseudo 3D thing.
Right.
Where it... doesn't make you first person because they'd have to change up every game they have.
Oh, right.
But they can make it kind of like the world wraps around you a little bit. Right. But kind of like you're in a movie, one of those IMAX theaters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. They could do that.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool too. So lots of interesting ideas.
Yeah.
So now let's assume though, just because we have to explore this possibility as well, they decide that they're just going to keep being Nintendo and no more iterative stuff. We got to do something completely new. We did something completely new with Switch. We didn't do something completely new with Wii U. Tanked. So they're like, we did something completely new with Switch. Big success. We got to do something completely new all over again. We can't repeat Switch. Switch is a one-off.
Oh God, no,
which
please.
is going to upset me. I don't know if that means they go back to making a handheld and a home console. I don't know what this means.
Yeah.
But what would they do in that case? Is there anything they would do if they decided to get rid of the hybrid that would make you still buy their stuff? Besides, obviously, another awesome Breath of the Wild game, which is going to make you pick up anything. But hardware-wise, what would make you... What makes you desire hardware? I mean, you don't own a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
No.
So,
I don't.
It's one of those, what would make you... I don't know, like no hybrid. What could Nintendo do that would make you buy it?
I don't know. That's a good question. Golly. Yeah, I mean... The reason why I bought the Switch was portability and you know,
console quality games on the go.
Exactly. So to not have that again, I mean, the only other thing I could think of would be that they kept the Switch
and made that their handheld.
And
they came out with crazy stuff.
With like almost like an Xbox or a PlayStation to compete with that.
Don't do this, Nintendo.
That would be
Switch only works because they don't have another dedicated home console.
No, I know. But I'm saying I could see them possibly doing something along the lines of that.
It's an interesting prospect because for the first time in my life, Nintendo has finally culminated my dream. All of my games, one system, on the go or at home.
Right.
It's what I've always wanted. I've wanted it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to sneak that bad boy under my pillow when I'm supposed to be sleeping and then throw it up on the big screen. That's what I wanted to do forever. Now I can.
Right.
And yes, we were able to do it with other devices, but for various reasons they weren't as successful as Switch.
Right.
And it's Nintendo, which has most of my favorite franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost feel like it was weird. I'm 31 years old, but it feels like Switch was the end point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where you go from there.
Right.
Because I don't want anything but more of that.
Right.
And I'm not saying I don't want a more powerful Switch. I do. I said I want iterative. I want new Switches. But to think of a future where Nintendo's like, yeah, Switch was huge, but we're done.
Right.
It actually... I know it's so early in the Switch's life to even be saying this, but it scares me a little bit. Thinking what Nintendo might do next. You know, what? Let's say they go all in on VR and they just make a VR-only machine. You can't do anything on it but VR.
Yeah.
You know, they try to Oculus Rift it, but all in one. So it's not, you know, you don't need a separate PC or anything. It's an all-in-one encompassing system. They somehow got it down to something you put on your head that you don't take out. It's not a phone. It's a true VR experience using their motion controls. And they say maybe you can use your Joy-Cons with it if you want, but we have new motion controls too.
Right.
And that sounds like all amazing and everything, but I'm not really playing that on the go on the bus when I can't.
Right. You can't really move around.
See, and then I understand there are some VR devices that are experimenting with like an outside camera, so you can kind of see the world. So you can kind of do, you know, augmented reality while wearing the headset. I guess is the idea, and still be aware of your surroundings. I don't know. That I understand what they're trying to do.
Right.
But,
right.
Like
that would almost that to me it just seems like it would give me a headache.
Well, the only way I think it would work is it can't be a giant headset. It'd have to be something like Google Glass.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
You know, if it's like Google Glass, which, you know, I don't want to say it's a failed experiment, but it was like too soon. Too soon. Microsoft was also doing something similar to that. And it'd be cool to see that technology fully realized, but that doesn't feel like a video game thing. I mean, they can make it one because they did AR games on 3DS, but I don't know what they could do. I mean, I know, here's the deal. Because Nintendo probably still going to exist. I'm assuming we're still going to be here unless I'm dead. When the new system comes out, I'm going to end up buying whatever it is just because I need to for my job now.
Right.
But I want to buy it because I would have bought it regardless of being here.
Right.
Switch I would have bought regardless. So I want the next system to be something I would buy regardless. And yes, I want an Xbox One X. So if they went with a traditional under TV box, I would be okay with it. I would still pick it up and I'd still enjoy it. But it wouldn't be the same. It would almost... It feels weird saying it because it might be like this 8K capable gaming rig that's just amazing. But it would almost feel like a step back from Switch because I'm going backwards from having all my games available anywhere I want to I have to play it in front of my TV all the time.
Right.
And as amazing as that experience might be, and as much of a PC tech enthusiast I am, it's still one of those I want all my games in one system everywhere. And you take that away from me, I'm going to cry.
Right, for sure. And you know, going back to what you said, what like hardware wise they would need to get me, I don't really care about hardware. For me, it's more about the game selection. I buy a console more for the games than I do for the actual console itself.
Sure.
I mean, back in the day, I bought the Xbox, or my parents got me an Xbox, and then so I just kind of grew up playing Halo, doing that. And then, so when the 360 came out, it was just, you know, it's not like I couldn't have went to the PlayStation. It wouldn't have bothered me any at all.
Sure.
But I, you know, grew up with the Microsoft franchise, and so I just kind of went with it.
And I can't deny, like, I have not bought every Sony system because I always had that disdain because I grew up in the Nintendo versus Sony.
Yeah.
You don't buy Sony products if you're a Nintendo fan.
Right.
At least Sony video game products. I had lots of, like, Sony MP3 players.
Oh, yeah, well,
TVs. They make great products, but it's like,
they do.
No, can't touch the PlayStation.
No.
So I missed out on a lot of PlayStation games, but I feel different now. I have a PlayStation 3 upstairs. I want a PlayStation 4 because there are games I want to play.
Right. This thing's run so high, you know, now and run so well, and it's like, okay.
Here's the thing. We should live in a world like we do now, where everything exists. Where you have, I think, like PC, just like PC gaming, there should be a home console dedicated to being under your TV that's about pushing the limits of your TV capabilities. 4K, HDR, all that stuff, 60 FPS, whatever, 120 hertz, you want to go up to 120 FPS in consoles, whatever. There should be a dedicated device that you can stick on your TV that does that because you're not going to be able to pull off the maximum value of your TV without that. But That doesn't also mean there shouldn't be a console that just goes with you everywhere that can also dock with your TV and still play many of the same games, even if it's at a lesser quality because it's using mobile tech.
Right.
And I'm scared of a future where that's not possible anymore.
For sure.
Because Nintendo finally realized something I've always been dreaming about. Just like I've always dreamt about a full 3D open world Zelda game, and they finally did it. That now that my dream is achieved, it's so hard to be like, well, what now?
Right.
So I'm going to love this generation, and I'm going to be concerned about what's next, because unless it's iterative, I don't know that anything else they could do is going to excite me as much.
Well, I guess there's a certain point where I'm glad we're not the ones making the decision, because where do you go? That's the tough part. It's not that you don't have places to go.
Sure. It's like there's some people who think the future is and you don't even buy games anymore. It's all you just have a little box you plug in anywhere, or even just even if it's a portable, it connects to Wi-Fi and you just stream all your games on external servers that are way more powerful than anything you can have in your house. And that's what the future is. There's actually PlayStation does that with their I was going to say virtual console, but it's their virtual console like service, PlayStation Now. And they also do the Game On or something used to do it that PlayStation bought or Sony bought. So like that idea has been tried before, and obviously the big thing is not everyone has a fast enough internet for that kind of thing. But I don't know, man.
It's we have different routes you can go, but at this point, are any of them actually better?
I don't know.
I mean,
here's the thing. Like some people say, I talked earlier about how you don't know what you want till you have it. I always knew I wanted a device like Switch. I always knew that. I didn't always talk about it. When rumors of a hybrid came out years ago, I said, "Oh, Nintendo's never going to do that. They make too much money with two separate devices." But I did say I really want one because this is like the dream machine. Everything,
for sure.
All Nintendo games on a single system. I don't have to buy a Game Boy for Pokemon and a Switch or an N64 for Ocarina of Time. I can get everything together on one system. Why the heck wouldn't you want that?
Oh, yeah,
but. That's the thing. Like the Switch wasn't this out of left field idea to me. It was the obvious thing that needed to hit it at the right time. I felt like the right time might have been 2012. I feel like if the Tegra X1 was out and affordable, that maybe they should have launched Switch instead of the Wii U. But whatever, it was obviously still the right time today. And
for sure.
It's just really interesting to me to think about. When he's talking about the future, because Nintendo has to think about this all the time.
Oh, yeah,
What could they possibly be thinking of? When he mentions like the AI thing, like, yeah, that's cool, but that's just like voice commands. Kinect had that. It wasn't very good, but that doesn't mean it can't be done better. The Google stuff, like I have the Google Home Mini, that thing's proving that it can be good.
Right.
Alexa is proving it can be good, so like Nintendo could have a good service, or they can even hook up with Google and have them do it or whatever.
Right, exactly.
So like that's fine, but that's not really a morphine. That's just adding a feature to something I already have, which I'm
for sure.
So it'll be interesting. You talked about the projector thing, and we talked about VR, and also like there's directions to go, or going back to underbox TV, or splitting Switch off into its own division.
Actually, that'd actually be kind of cool too. Actually, having a projector, not even the holograph, just an actual projector, making itself a projector, so you could just go up to a wall and.
I always thought that would have been because there are those. Well, it's not out yet. There was a Kickstarter for a Switch dock that you docked it, and the dock itself was a projector.
Oh, nice!
Just a really cool thing. I mean, you don't need a dock to do that. There's other portable projectors out there, but it was just convenient,
right?
And I always thought about that. Like, the only issue is having it where you can plop it down anywhere and it projects. As obviously you need a kickstand on the front side as well, which is possible. Heck, maybe screen technology gets to the point you can pop out part of the screen and put it back in. You don't even notice the crease. Who knows? Screen technology is getting crazy. They could already do like OLED screens and have them bend around things. It's really cool. Flexible screen technology. And I keep thinking about that kind of stuff, and it's like, but the issue again is something we've talked about in the past is battery. It all takes battery, and battery technology has gone nowhere.
Right. No, for sure.
And I don't know if that's because we've hit a wall, or if it's just because no one wants to invest the kind of money it's going to take to get to that next level of battery technology. I'm not talking like nuclear battery energy, but
I think if I remember right, we do have newer types of energy.
Well, the thing is, like, the research is there. Like, if you go look up, what's next after lithium batteries, there are, like, technologies that exist that blow the crap out of lithium, especially lithium-ion batteries. But is that stuff ever going to become mainstream in our lifetime?
Right.
Probably not,
or
because
affordable.
when it becomes available, one, it's going to be expensive, and two, that the people who make lithium-ion batteries are just going to cut the prices even more.
Yeah. Well,
they will.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to want the iPhone to move over to whatever the new battery is that's 10 times the capacity but half the weight.
Right.
And they're going to be like, no, we don't want that. Like, they're cutting you that deal, but it's costing you $150, $200 per battery. Screw it. We're gonna give you a battery that will double the battery life of your prior iPhone. And yeah, it's going to add a little weight, but we're only going to charge you $10 per battery versus $200. And Apple's going to be like, okay, well, we're going to go. Well, they can.
Yeah,
they can. Think about it. Like one of the top batteries is basically a 4,000 milliamp hour thing.
Yeah.
All of my battery banks are significantly larger than that. That one that you're using to charge your phone right now, I think it's like a 10,000 one, or maybe it's a 20,000. I can't remember. It doesn't weigh that much.
No.
And that's the kind of stuff you can start seeing in phones, and that would double the battery life.
Right. No. I'm saying, I understand that the $10 is just a throw out there.
It's a throwaway number, but it's going to be significantly cheaper.
Right. You have, they're going to have to cut their profit margins by quite a bit. Then, I mean, there is a point where eventually they can't cut their prices.
Well, it's going to be about how cheap can they make the new tech,
right,
go.
And how fast.
Obviously, there will be very few manufacturers at first, but that's also one of those things where Samsung, iPhone, LG, someone will get in there in the smart device space and be like, "Hey," or maybe it's Nintendo. Who knows? Be like, "Look, we're gonna be the one that brings your tech to the mainstream."
Oh, for sure.
And that's why the reason I bring up Nintendo is because Nintendo is what made touchscreens popular with the DS. Now, they existed before the DS, but they made it popular before smart devices became a thing. They made let me see, motion controls. Motion controls existed before. There's evidence of motion controls as far back as the Atari 2600. But Nintendo popularized the idea. So I'm not saying that Nintendo's always like the big innovator people think they are, but they are very good at popularizing concepts at the correct time.
Right.
As an example, Vita was trying to do what Switch was.
Oh, yeah.
But Nintendo did it at the right time in the right way.
And
they're not the first people to try this. They just did it better.
Improvements, yeah.
Yeah, they did it. They looked at mistakes of competitors and did it better.
Right.
And mistakes of themselves. Going with NVIDIA was probably one of the smartest decisions they've probably ever made as a company. Not just because this isn't the diss on AMD. It's just that NVIDIA had a mobile specific chip for gaming, which is just awesome. Because AMD does own a lot of mobile tech and mobile chips, but none of them are targeted specifically at gaming.
And you never know. Now the NVIDIA's partner with Nintendo, maybe AMD is going to try to come out with something that's better.
Who knows? Competition is good.
Oh yeah,
competition is good. Now we're going to skip to a different topic quick.
Okay.
Because, did I even put it on here?
What one? Oh, you're not looking at the.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. So we're going to skip down a topic quick because we were talking about manufacturing and how, do we need the batteries or do we need this stuff? And something interesting is happening is that Nintendo's been working on 64 gigabyte cards for Nintendo Switch, and a report came out. Again, it's a report. Nintendo hasn't necessarily said anything, but it's a report that the 64 gigabyte cards for Switch have been delayed. We don't know what that means because we have no idea when they were supposed to come out. We don't know if they were targeted for 2018 and now they won't come until 2019, 2020, 2021, whatever. Maybe they'll never come out. And my question with that, I wrote down in here, like, does it really even matter? Obviously, we know a lot of games today eat up lots of data.
Right.
Switches only have 32 gigabytes of internal storage, so a 64 gigabyte card is double what's inside the Switch.
Right.
Does it matter that this is delayed?
My question is first is how full are we pushing these carts? Are we maxing them all out basically for every game?
So here's the deal. The top cart right now is 32.
Yep.
There is only one game I can even think of that uses it. And I think it's Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 and 2 in Japan.
Okay.
They put both games on the cart and it maxed it out to 32.
Okay. Right.
But the reason there's not more games using the 32 because it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of games could be used. Doom could fit their entire game on it. Instead, you get X amount on the cart. I think it's a 16 gigabyte cart, and then you'd have to download 9 gigs to get the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Same is true with basically every other AAA game out there that doesn't fit on a 16 gigabyte cart.
Mm-hmm.
Is that no one's willing to go above the 16 gigabyte cart, so they're making you download tons and tons and tons of data. Same is true with NBA 2K. It's true with WWE 2K. It's going to be true with a lot of third-party games.
Mm-hmm.
Because Nintendo games traditionally aren't very large in file size. So
right.
It's one of those. This is why I said it doesn't matter, because third parties aren't even willing to use the 32 gigabyte carts in the first place. And the 64 gigabyte carts would seem to be a solution to a concern consumers have that third parties aren't going to take advantage of anyways. Because the concern consumers have, and the reason why physical media makes so much sense on Switch is because of the limited internal storage.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it has micro SD expansion.
Right.
But because of that, it kind of encourages you to buy physical, but
right.
then people are turned off from buying physical because then you have to download 10, 12, 15 gigs of data anyway.
Right.
And end up having to buy micro SD cards. But a 64 gigabyte card would also allow some of the larger games
mm-hmm.
to come out on the platform that are 40, 50, 60 gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds amazing. But who's going to actually spend the money on the card?
Right. Because then you're going to have to turn around and give it back to the
if they spend money on the cart, the one of two things happens. One, they up the price of the game from $60 to $80 or something.
Right.
Because if they won't even buy the 32 gigabyte, imagine what the price hike they would do for the 64 game.
Right.
And, two, the manufacturer of them is probably a little tough too.
Mm-hmm.
They, because they are basically SD cards themselves and
mm-hmm.
using NAND flash memory, which the shortage of that could have to do with why it's delayed. I'm just very. Thing is, as a consumer, I want them to exist because there are games that are over 32 gigs that should be using them.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. I've been on record saying in the past that I feel like when it comes to Nintendo's 32 and 64 gigabyte carts, that Nintendo either needs to eat the entire cost of the cart,
mm-hmm.
which on the 64 gigs probably a decent chunk. It could be $10, $15.
Oh, right.
And that's on the total sale of the game.
Right.
That eats into a huge chunk of Nintendo's margin they get on royalty fees on that.
Right.
Might even get rid of all royalty fees at that point. Mm-hmm. So that's, there's that. And that could be why it's delayed as well, because they're trying to get the cost down, maybe?
The only other thing I could think of would be Nintendo not eats the whole cost, but eats the cost up to the point of the 16 gig.
Yeah, that's
the differential.
Yeah,
the difference.
like they still charge you a 16 gig price for the 64
right.
gig card, so
right.
they eat the additional cost, which is still going to be a significant chunk.
Oh, right. But I mean, yes. So they're not eating the whole card, but they're at least eating the
they're encouraging. That would be encouraging third parties to be like, look, if you have a 30, 40, 50 gig mm-hmm. thing, you might as well just use our bigger cards instead of making these downloads.
Right.
That would be a very pro-consumer move.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think Nintendo's going to do that because it hurts their bottom line, and the Switch is selling like hotcakes, and games are selling like crazy, and they don't have a reason to do it.
Right.
They just recently even talked about how digital sales are going fantastic and blah, blah, blah. It's like, mm-hmm. well, yeah, because it doesn't make sense to buy physical if you still have to download.
Half your game is still
half or more of the game you still have to download.
Yeah.
It's one, that's just a crappy situation that exists in the first place. And
right.
two, it is the reality of going with cartridges. Cartridges are more expensive. Yes, not on the lower end, the 8 gigabyte, the 16 gigabyte, not a lot of difference between the cost of that and the packaging and the shipping compared to like a Blu-ray disc.
Right.
But there is in the 32 gig and 64 significant differences.
If they can somehow get the price down real quick, then this delay, will hurt. But if it's coming out and the price of it's going to stay sky high and nobody's going to use it, I don't think it really matters.
And that's why I asked. It doesn't matter who's going to use Nintendo. Maybe,
yeah.
But if Nintendo needed a 64 gigabyte cart for one of their games, they're just going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
The delay won't matter. They'll just be the only ones able to use it.
Right, exactly.
And
I'm sure they already have some.
Well, Nintendo, yeah. I mean, it's not like they haven't made them. They've obviously have prototypes that work and everything. Because it's just doubling up what's on the 32 gigabyte. I've talked about this in the past. People said, "Oh, need to worry about the capacity of the cartridges for games." I'm like, you don't necessarily need to because they're basically SD cards. They can go up to 100. They can go up to 2 terabytes for crying out loud.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You can fit a ton on there, more space than you need for a game. The problem is the cost.
Right.
If you think of the cost of a 32 gigabyte and a 64 gigabyte SD card, there is a difference. And even a big difference when you compare it to an 8 gigabyte. And so a lot of third parties aren't even willing to do the 16. They'll only do the 8. Oh, we're going to make you download anyways. You might as well just do the 8 and make you download 20 gigs.
Right, exactly.
So I just think the whole situation sucks. I think the 64 gigabyte cards should exist, but they are too expensive. And I don't know what Nintendo can do about it because that's just the way that the technology is right now. Nintendo...
Well, that's the way most things are. The second it comes out, it's expensive as heck.
The biggest solution is when they release a revision of the Switch, hoping they release a revision of the Switch, even if it's not the new generation. I would like to see them throw, I don't even know, 500 gig SSD in that bad boy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just like a significant amount of memory where people then don't feel as bad about buying digital because they don't have to buy as many micro SD cards or whatever.
Right.
I own 2 of them. I'll probably eventually have to own like 2 or 3 more because that's just the way it is. Because even if I buy the physical games, which I want to own I have a goal of owning every single physical game on Switch.
Either that, or you could even put a USB port onto it, and you can basically take a hard drive and plug it into it.
But that defeats the purpose of the Switch.
Yes, it does, but
I mean that's fine for at home. Like I think including expansion support for standalone hard drives is something. They did it with Wii U. It is something that they should include for people who only play it at home. But it's still one of those like the easiest solutions. One, you need more than 32 gigs in the system, and 2, you need to find a way to make these carts as cheap as humanly possible, so third parties aren't so scared to use the bigger carts.
Right.
Either because you can't provide the volume they need, if that's one of the issues, we don't know, or the 64 gigabyte carts. I'm sure it's a volume thing. Anyone that might be interested, Nintendo might not be able to provide the volume needed yet. And on top of that, it's price.
Oh, for sure,
big price. It kind of sucks that that's where things are at. Because I feel like cartridges are a solution to a lot of issues. One of the reasons that Xbox and PlayStation required game installs is because the read speeds on a Blu-ray disc or any optical media is not that great. It's the same reason that people are putting SSDs and stuff in their, in their computers and their laptops. Our smartphones run on that kind of memory because it is just significantly faster read and write speeds.
Right.
And that is what leads to the Switch not needing to install these games that can fit on the cartridges, like Breath of the Wild fitting entirely on the cartridge, because the load times are less, and they're to the point where, yes, it would still be faster to put it on the internal memory, but the differences are so negligible that at the consumer level, you're not really going to care.
Right.
That's the benefit of the cartridges and the physical medium. And on top of the benefit of that, you also get the resale value. You can't really resell your digital goods yet, so you get resale value. You also get, obviously, the collector's value of having your boxes and all that stuff. But it's I don't know. It solves a lot of issues that this generation brought up with having game installs, basically making it like PCs. Because PCs, you always had to install your games, and that kind of led to PCs becoming digital only. Because why buy a physical medium if you're just going to install it on your computer and never really need the disc again?
Right.
All the disc is being put in for is a validation key.
Yeah.
It's not actually reading off the disc.
Yeah.
So if that's the way games are going, it made sense to be, digital. And that's the way PlayStation 4 and Xbox One handle it, is you have to install anyways. It's starting to make more and more sense that you really just shouldn't even buy the disc in the first place.
Right.
Because it's just a validation key. You're going to have to download a 50 gigabyte update day one anyways.
Right.
So you might as well just get the digital game in the first place. You have to have it installed. and you have to download huge updates. So what's the point of getting the disc? It doesn't really make things any faster. In fact, sometimes your download speed is quicker than the install speed off the disc anyways, because your internet's fast enough to have a faster download speed than the read speed of your disc. So like, there's not a lot of advantages to the disc, but they're cheap.
Right.
And there's resale. They're cheap, and they're resale value. Because even though it's just a digital key on a disc that unlocks it for you to play, it's still one of those things that you can sell that key. And that is something people care about. Switch makes it so, you can still sell and do all this stuff. Oh, and by the way, you don't have to install the games because we fixed the read speed issue.
Right.
But the fix for it's expensive. Or relatively expensive compared to the other options out there. So it's a very interesting situation where I want these things to exist. I just don't know who's going to use them. I could think of a zillion games I want to come to Switch that could use them, but they're not going to spend the money on it because we're not going to have $60 games in anymore.
Right.
Again, I think the only people that will ever use it is a Nintendo entity, and Nintendo. I don't foresee them having any games that exceed 32 gigs on Switch, anyways. Maybe ever, because Nintendo. I don't know how they do it, but they're like the masters of compression. To take a game like Breath of the Wild and shrink it down as much as they did is just amazing to me.
Yeah, right.
Did the same thing with Odyssey. Like how are they getting these iconic games to be under 7 gigs? I don't know how they do it.
Just even look at the NES, though, too. I mean, they had decent-sized games crammed down to, what?
Megabytes.
Yeah.
Like kilobytes.
Kilobytes, yeah. Right.
Just crazy. I don't know. It kind of sucks because I want to live in a future where 64 gigabyte cartridges not only exist, but are regularly used for games that could use it. But unless Nintendo starts eating the cost, even on Nintendo needs to start doing it with the 32 gig first to make people start using that.
Right.
And maybe that's why they're like, why even work on these things? Maybe the delay is just why are we even making these things? No one's even using the 32 that we make already.
That is definitely possible. Besides, it's definitely possible that they're basically ready to go. They're just like, wait, why are we?
Why bring them out when we have no one demanding them?
Why spend the money on the production?
Unless we have a game that's going to use it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, I guess my hope then is that Nintendo at least announces, or they don't even have to announce it, but at least either cuts the price on what they're charging for like the 32 gig, or eat the cost difference between 16 and 32. To at least, I want it to be standard where third-party games that are bigger than 16 gigs at least use the 32. Even if they're like 50 gigs, okay, I still have to download 18, but at least 32 of it's on the dang card.
Right.
So I don't know. Just kind of my food for thought on that. I guess we'll get back into what our original topic 3 is, but now topic 4 is we're going to talk about fiscal year 2018, 2019. Right. So from April of 2018 through 12 months later in 2019, Nintendo has come out. Tatsumi Kimishima specifically came out and said he is hoping, or their target for sales is 20 million Switches. That's slightly higher than their current target for this fiscal year, which was like 14 to 16, somewhere in there. I think it was 14 million, and then it would be 16 total if you include the 13th month, which is the launch month. So it's a 6 million increase over this current fiscal year, and they say right now that they're on target to hit that 14 million. That's great. Good for them. So how many do you think Nintendo needs to sell for it to be a success?
Oh, at bare minimum, the same amount that they've sold this year.
So it needs to at least hit 14 million.
Right.
So like no loss of momentum.
Right.
At least maintaining what you have.
Yes.
Okay.
For me, what they absolutely need to sell is, and I know the demand's there for it, so it is at least the same amount that you sold this year. I'd like to see the 20 million. That's kind of about where.
I mean, it hasn't happened many times in Nintendo's history. They've hit 20 million plus in a year.
And I think the demand's there. It's and the supplies are getting better, but again, it's going to be how fast can we get these out to get that 20 million.
It's not, and I think not just that. What can they release this year to maintain it? Right. Now, here's the thing: they released Pokemon in this fiscal year, whether it's at the end of 2018 or at the beginning of 2019, right before the fiscal year turns. If that happens, they're hitting 20 million.
Yeah, well, they better have enough docked up first before they do that.
Yeah, they better, because that's going to be the one that's going to be the game that converts all the 3DS owners.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So they're gonna, well, not all of them, but a significant chunk. You know,
Right.
a fifth of them, however much you want to say, but which is still a lot. So it's like that. I don't know. I mean, my big thing is that for Switch's momentum to continue, obviously in Japan, I don't see it slowing down because they're still supply constrained. In the U.S., we're not really supply constrained. You can walk into most retailers right now and buy a Switch today. It's been that way since October. There's been obviously moments like on Black Friday where maybe it was sold out in a lot of places, but it really isn't that hard to get a Switch if you want one, whether you want the neon or the gray bundle, or even the Splatoon 2 bundle at Walmart or whatever. Or I think the Mario Odyssey bundle is the one that you can't really get anymore. That might have been just a one-time run. But even when I think about all that, to maintain momentum in the U.S., it's no longer about supplying enough Switches. It's about releasing games people want to play.
Right.
Obviously, getting third-party support will be huge for that for the West. I don't know that Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, is going to sell any better on the system than it did on other systems, but I feel like if they can start getting day-and-date games, they start getting the Maddens and the FIFAs that aren't cut back, they start getting Call of Duty. And I know a lot of people like rolling your eyes at these games, but these are the games that consumers in the West care about. You can't just keep having the system rely just on Nintendo games to keep it afloat. And I know it sounds hypocritical because, the nice thing about combining and having a hybrid system is Nintendo could lift the system all on their own, just with their own software. But to maintain success in the West, you can't just ignore the popular Western games.
Right.
So they need to find a way to get those on the platform. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know who makes the decisions on that. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Obviously, we know Bethesda has been hugely supporting the Switch, but when are we going to get a day-and-date brand new current generation game from them? We don't know.
Right.
The closest is New Colossus, and that's still, for all we know, it could be 6 months from now. So it's still one of those, we're not there with the equal treatment to consumers, which is going to lead to less interest in buying a Switch. And then there's obviously Nintendo's output. They kicked it off with Zelda, had a great game with Splatoon 2 in the middle. They had Mario Kart 8 as well. ARMS, which did okay. Yeah, it's a fighting game. Fighting games aren't necessarily like this mega genre. Right. But it did good it did good for a first time attempt at a fighting game, in that kind of genre, in the arena style. And obviously Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and then you had Odyssey. I look at this year and I'm like, man, Pokemon would do it on its own because that's just so big. Like Pokemon's one of the biggest franchises Nintendo could release. Period. At any point. But I keep thinking, like, what else could they do? Because Kirby and Yoshi, I don't think are going to move the needle that much. No. They might crack 1 million in total lifetime sales across the whole of the Switch fan base all over the world. But I mean, that's I'm looking at like a 2 million top out for those. That might still look good in the Switch's current numbers, but Breath of the Wild, is at like 5 million, probably going to hit 7 or 8 here over the course of this year. And 2 million is going to start being kind of like that's okay. That's good for what it was, but that's not moving the needle. That's just current Switch owners. I don't know what else can move the needle besides maybe an Animal Crossing. Yeah. Because Animal Crossing is huge, especially in Japan. Animal Crossing is massive in Japan.
Well, and
they have Pocket Camp.
Exactly.
Pocket Camp came out, so that's kind of one of those.
It's kind of one of those
pushing the needle
setup.
Yeah, like setting up, being like, even if Pocket Camp might not be as big of a success as Nintendo wants it to be, and we don't know yet. They haven't really made any statements on that. But if it's not, it's at least probably got a big enough install base in the West that it could be like, okay, yeah, maybe that's not that many people as they hoped overall. Like maybe they're hoping for 100 million or 150 million like Super Mario Run. Right. But if all of those people or even half of those people turn around and buy the Switch and get Animal Crossing on it, that's a big number for that.
Oh, yeah.
So it depends on how they want to look at them, because they've always said they want their mobile games to help sell their console games. But like outside of those two games, I'm like, I guess Smash. Yeah. But I mean, I know Metroid's coming, but as exciting as I'm excited for Metroid Prime 4. Yeah. I've played all 3 of the Metroid Primes. They're great games, but it's like Metroid games just don't sell well. So
there's not going to be a push think for
here's the thing, like how many mega franchises does Nintendo really even have? They have the Mario Kart series, they have Smash. I guess Splatoon can probably be started to be counted in that. It's consistently moving over 4 million every time. Yep. Animal Crossing, and basically the biggest are obviously probably Kart, Smash, Animal Crossing, and Pokemon at this point. Then 2D Mario games are up there as well. 3D Mario games and Zelda are kind of around the same level. 3D Mario is more popular, but again, those are also games that move over 4 million every time. I keep thinking, like, what else does Nintendo really have that moves that kind of needle? And even when I look at their handheld space, I'm like, I mean, Fire Emblem Awakening sold well, but Fate sold a little bit less.
Yeah.
Is a Fire Emblem game really going to hit the ground running? Fire Emblem Warriors didn't sell as well as Hyrule Warriors, so it's kind of one of those. I don't know how Nintendo has a lot of big IP, but a lot of it's concentrated around like 5 or 6 franchises, and we've already had like half of those franchises released.
Right.
So I'm like,
the only thing is an attempt at a brand new major
IP. I mean, that's what they did. I mean, heck, who thought they could launch an IP on the Wii U of all systems and have it be as big as it is? Splatoon. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We don't know what Retro Studios is working on. I'm hoping it's a brand new IP not because Nintendo doesn't have a large stable of IP, but because the best chance they have at making another pillar that's huge is a new IP, especially one that caters to the West. Because Nintendo does, Zelda kind of caters to the West, but besides that, they don't have a lot of games that are really built in the Western culture. Xenoblade Chronicles is nice. I love that they have that JRPG feel, but again, it's still more of a niche game.
Right.
It's not at Final Fantasy levels. I wish it was at Final Fantasy levels. I think it deserves to be at Final Fantasy levels.
Oh, for sure.
But it's just not, for whatever the reason. Maybe it's just because there hasn't been quality 3D JRPGs on Nintendo systems for so long. Yes, we had them, but before that, it's kind of like kind of a no-show since Final Fantasy left town.
Yeah.
And I know some of you guys are going to bring up some obscure games. I understand.
Fantasy Star Online.
What was it, Skies of Arcadia?
Yeah.
When that came to GameCube. But again, that was a Dreamcast game. Didn't really come until after Dreamcast was out of the market. So, I don't know. I'm kind of left up where I think they have enough punch to hit the 20 million. But then I really worry about what's left for then the next, 2019. Or, 2019. Like, what's next for that? What's next for 2020? I mean, by 2020, you could be talking about a new Mario game coming out.
Right.
Returning to those popular franchises again. But it's not that Nintendo doesn't have the games, and clearly indie games are doing very well. But
it's not that Nintendo doesn't have the IP. I don't think they have a ton of major IP.
Yeah, like ones that move the needle. Metroid is a nice game to maintain momentum if it's released in a month between major releases.
Right.
But Nintendo will probably treat it as its own major release, which could actually lead to a slowdown in sales. Really weird to say that with Metroid, but it's not Metroid's fault. It's just, it's a niche game. It's always been a niche game. It's a niche genre. So, I don't know. I'm a little concerned. I mean, the question was how many Switches need to sell for it to be a success. You mentioned, just matching this year would be nice, at least because it shows no slowdown anyways. I think that's key. For there to be a failure, it would have to be less than this year. How much less, I don't know, but less. Because that would show momentum has slowed down.
Right.
And that maybe they can't get that momentum back. Because usually what happens is systems, they either peak right away, which is kind of what we did, and then after 2 or 3 years, it's done. Or they slowly build up and then have their best years in year 2, 3, 4, and then they kind of crash into year 5 and 6, and that's when you start getting new hardware out. So Switch is peaking right away. But the scary thing is the Switch is peaking, so year 2 probably will be really good. Year 3 will probably be okay, but start being a downturn. And then we got to start thinking about what's next because you're not going to get that momentum back.
Right.
Especially as we start talking about PlayStation 5 coming out, Xbox 2 or whatever they call it coming out.
Whatever they call it, yeah.
Or Xbox One X, Y, and Z.
Xbox One X1.
Yeah, whatever confusing naming system they go with.
Yeah.
And any other competitors that come to the market in that time, maybe another handheld competitor comes out or something.
Yeah.
It's interesting just to think about the Switch's meteoric rise. And I think like the 20 million, I feel like it's even conservative. I think even though they haven't had many years of selling 20 million of any of their stuff, I think Switch, if they can make enough units, especially for Japan, and they have an Animal Crossing and Pokemon come out in the same fiscal year, they could probably hit between 23 to 25 million. So it might be even conservative, and that's fine. It's good to be conservative, but
to a certain extent,
I'm also like, so you go from 14, then you go to 25, and the next year maybe you're at 23, 24-ish, and then all of a sudden the following year you drop to 10. Next year you're barely selling 7, and all of a sudden you start seeing the Switch dying off. Now, obviously the iterative console thing muddles everything because it could start dying off. Like the next year you sell 10, but the following year you release the Switch, 2. Or whatever the case may be, everything's cross-compatible across the board, so it's not necessarily considered a new generation, but it is technically because it's just like smartphones.
Right.
But it's really powerful and does all the cool stuff, and all of a sudden, bam, they sell 20 million that year.
Yeah.
So it's
you can. I'm sure that if you break it down in detail, you can break out which ones are the new Switches versus which ones are the old Switches. So.
Well, yeah, the breakdowns will be there, but it's still one of those. Does Nintendo consider them part of the same family?
Right.
Like they combined Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket. I understand Game Boy Pocket. Yeah. Game Boy Color to me felt like a new generation because you couldn't play Game Boy Color games on Game Boy.
Right.
Like that doesn't mean there can't be some exclusive games, but Game Boy Color games literally couldn't be played on Game Boy. That's a new generation to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Switch 2 games can probably still most of them be played on the OG Switch. That's my hope. There might be some exclusives like there was for the DSi, or even the new Nintendo 3DS, but just some. Most of the games would be cross-compatible. So I don't know. At least that's what I see. 20 million. I think is an undersell. So for it to be a success, it needs to probably hit, for me, at least the 20 million mark. If it just maintains, I worry it can't get any better.
No, and that's
not that 14 million a year and scoff at. It's 14 million a year for 7 years. That's amazing.
Right.
But the chance of it lasting for 7 years,
right.
It's going to feel pretty dated with smartphone technology and new tablets coming out every year. We have to look at what is the viability. Right. And I think that's important too, because earlier we talked about the future. And it says Nintendo needs to think about the release timing in a flexible way. That, to me, almost made me lean towards this iterative idea. Because they realize, look, we're using mobile tech now. Mobile tech's advancing super, super fast.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to stay on top of it every 3 years. Is what I'm.
Yeah.
When I see they need to be flexible about release schedule, I'm like,
right.
That to me means that Nintendo might even release the next Switch faster than the Wii U generation. Where the Wii U in 4 years, they might be like, no, we got 3 years of Switch, and then it's got to be Switch 2. We got to keep up.
Right.
Because if we get so far behind phones where they're playing the same games we can play, but everyone has it in their pocket, they could be in trouble.
Right.
So again, it depends on how much Nintendo wants to get into that game of keeping up with mobile tech. Right now, they started out at the higher end, but in 3 years, that higher end is going to be the low end. So it'll be interesting to see.
The thing that I'm hoping is not we have this meteoric rise right now, and then all of a sudden you just.
Well, Nintendo's known for squandering. Like, it crashes, which is going to happen, and you can't always predict it. I mean, you can if you look at your release schedule. Usually you're not releasing big hitters anymore. But it's also one of those, when it crashes, does Nintendo respond right away, or does it take them 2 to 3 years of kind of squandering any momentum they did have? PlayStation's like, look, we're like 7 years in. We're going to give you huge games this year to keep PlayStation 3 selling, so you're excited about buying a PlayStation 4. And I'm hoping that's what Nintendo does. I hope that they just ride the momentum into the next system instead of letting the momentum die and be like, oh, by the way, now go buy the Switch 2. It's like, people are over Switch now. You let people get over Switch.
Right.
It's been dated for so long. The Switch 2 doesn't even sound. Oh, great, the release Switch 2. So what is it? Like, as powerful as my phone 3 years ago now?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, you got to be careful there when you're in the mobile game. But Nintendo, that's why I really want the iterative thing. But 20 million, I think bare minimum, because I want to see growth.
No,
want to see
for
growth.
sure.
I mean, I know you want to see growth too, but to you, it's like if they can just maintain. I mean, you get 14 million is good.
Yeah.
I will eat my words on it if they maintain 14 million a year for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
That's still really, really good. That's still going to be like 80 billion units or something.
Yeah.
And that's just quick math. I'm sure I'm off. But, no, maybe I'm not. Oh, no, I think it's 70 million. Now that I actually think about it for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's not bad to match 3DS, I suppose. So the last topic, everything kind of spins together here. We're talking a lot of Nintendo, a lot of 2018, a lot of future stuff. It is New Year's. That's what happens. We got to talk about what we think is going to happen. And this month, there has been heavily rumored, heavily hinted at, all but confirmed to be a January Nintendo Direct from multiple third-party developers being like, hey, we have news to share about our game in January for Switch. We have news on Fez coming at a Nintendo Direct that hasn't been announced yet in January.
Yes.
So Nintendo has also traditionally done January Nintendo Directs, and it's usually a pretty big Direct. It's a beefy January. Last year, the 2017, they did not do a Nintendo Direct, but they did have a live event for the Switch. So that was kind of like their substitute. This year, it feels like it's Direct time.
Right.
What the heck needs to happen in this Direct? What are your expectations?
I was going to go out on a limb and say that they were going to, unveil a brand new game. Woo! I was kidding. That's a huge limb to go out on.
Brand new game. You're kidding, right?
Yeah.
There's no new games coming to Switch.
No.
Well, what's your expectations? Probably the last time we'll have a big thing until E3.
Right. No, I mean, you're going to have your obviously your handful of releasing, what we're doing here, what we're doing there.
Well, yeah. I mean, a big thing is obviously what's releasing the next 6 months because we don't know. Like, we know games announced for spring or summer, but we don't really know when they're coming.
Right. And then, I guess any brand new concepts for games that they're coming out with, like, a brand new IP. Here's a good chance to possibly get the word out. So, I mean, it's a little bit different, I think, for me than, saying, okay, this game is releasing. Well, here's a brand new IP that we have that we're thinking about. Or something along the lines of concepts for something.
Keep people excited.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
your expectation.
It's got to be basically another keeping the hype train rolling.
My expectation is that they're going to give us a bunch of release dates. Maybe even announce some new smaller games like Kirby or whatever, but all of it's coming out in the next 6 months. And they'll say, if you want to know what we're doing for the end of the year, tune in at E3. And we'll be pretty excited. We'll be pretty good. We'll get some third-party unveils. We'll see some very, very good indie games. And it's going to be kind of a run-of-the-mill Nintendo Direct. And I feel like that's what I expect. But to me, that would be such a letdown.
Right.
I feel like the ideal way they've handled Switch is kind of the ideal way. Kind of the ideal way they did this is kind of what they did this past year, where we basically knew the holiday game was Odyssey before E3. We knew that Xenoblade was coming out, later half of the year. We basically knew all of the major games that was coming to Switch last year back in January.
In a way, it'd be nice to almost see a mini E3.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yes.
I don't expect it. I expect a run-of-the-mill, here's some release dates, be excited, we're going to maintain some momentum here, and just worry about the next 6 months, and we'll come back to E3 for what's next. But I want them to do what they did this year, where it's like, look, not necessarily a live thing, but like we're going to blow your minds. Be like, look, Pokemon is coming this year. Here, take a look.
Yeah, right.
Bam, it's coming this year, period. Now, it doesn't mean it won't get delayed, but at least they'll be like, we're confidently saying it's coming this year. We're confidently saying Metroid's coming this year, or Animal Crossing, or whatever they want to unveil. But I want this to be what you would expect at E3 for the following year. So I want this to be what I want them to at least announce all of the Switch games they plan, like major Switch games they plan to release this year. And then at E3, use that to announce some games that are coming next year. Not all of them. Like you can still show off some games from this year and some surprises. But But focus on make your big announcements be this you don't even know we're doing this. It's coming next year.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah.
Because I feel like E3 should always be about building hype for the future of gaming.
Right.
Whereas if you're going to have these major events in between, Sony has PSX, Nintendo has Nintendo Directs, you do like this January Direct, and you'd be like, look, we're setting the roadmap right now for the rest of 2018. If you're not excited about Switch from last year, look at what we're doing this year.
Right. How often do they do Treehouse Lives?
Not very often.
Is it just mainly E3?
E3, sometimes they, when they are at PAX and stuff like that, they'll do some tournaments and stuff, and they'll have Treehouse Live there.
Yeah.
So usually at media events, basically.
Right. Wouldn't hurt to see some Treehouse Live at the
after the event.
After the event,
showing off some of the games.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we showed up Pokemon. So by the way, let's play some.
Right. Exactly.
Whoa.
Right.
That's playable. How can that not be coming out this year?
To be combined with the Direct.
Yeah.
Kind of
add a live aspect to it, because the Nintendo Directs are pre-recorded.
Right.
So you take the pre-recorded leading into a live aspect. That would be interesting.
Right.
I like what they do at E3. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It is.
That would be cool. I just, as long as, like, I will be satisfied, if they do what I think they're going to do, which is the typical, here's our next 6 months, enjoy, and there happens to be one really exciting, unexpected announcement in there. Maybe Animal Crossing's landing in the next 6 months. Maybe Fire Emblem's coming in the next 6 months. Maybe it'll be Retro's new IP. It's ready. It's going to hit in summer. Whatever. Like, something like that would be exciting, but it's still one of those, I want to know, as a consumer or as a potential consumer, I want to know what I can get now and what I can get for the next year.
Right.
Because when I buy a platform, I'm at least committed in a year. So I want to know what's coming. Sure. And then that's what's nice about E3 is they need to use E3 to tease for the next year, because to maintain Switch momentum, I feel like people who buy a Switch need to always know what's coming. And doesn't mean surprises can't happen, but once you unveil the surprise, it's okay for people to know it's coming and just hype it up at the right time. If that means like imagine that they announce the new Retro IP. Say it's a new IP, whatever they're working on, and they said, look, it's going to come. It's not hitting this year, but it's coming very, very early 2019. And they announce that now, and then they say they don't say nothing about it. Then we get to E3, and just like the prior E3s,
right?
Last year, 2016 was Breath of the Wild,
right? Exactly. That
That
to me was like awesome, because we knew that there was going to be the new Zelda game.
Sure.
No. Just how they handled it.
Yeah.
They kind of give you little teases here and there about, there's a new Zelda game coming out.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you what the name is. We're not going to tell you. And all of a sudden at E3, it's all of a sudden just this big, massive reveal.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's hype to the extreme.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And then this past E3, we all knew what Super Mario Odyssey was, but they themed their whole E3 around it. They had other games there, but it was very much promote Super Mario Odyssey. And then this E3, let's promote whatever Retro's new IP is.
Right.
Because it's a Western event. Let's just pump this bad. You guys have no idea what this thing is. By the time you're done with E3, you're going to not want... Like, no one who tries this game and tries anything about it's not going to want to buy it.
And then, so, like...
Although, I think it's more likely to be a Pokemon theme. If Pokemon Switch is coming.
Right. No, for sure. So, it's basically... Here's the idea of what this new IP is going to be. Kind of little hints, little teasers.
Little teasers.
And then you finally get the actual name of the game, and if it's ready. Obviously,
be like Retro, like in January, be like Retro making a new IP.
Right.
This is the kind of game it is, and here's a teaser look at it, and then they tease a couple times in between E3, and all of a sudden E3, it's the big. Here's what the game is.
Yeah, right.
Go play it now. Like the demo now. I've always said, what I love about these big reveals is if they would let people at home play the demos too. I know it sucks because that actually makes me be like, oh, why am I going to E3 when I can just play the demo at home? But I realistically know this is never going to happen. But it's always been a dream of mine as just a consumer to be like, hey, when you show off these games at E3 and you have demos on the show floor, can you give those demos to the public?
I could see afterwards maybe.
Yeah, well, I can see maybe like that week or two. No,
right.
But again,
and I also know
a lot of those builds aren't even running on the real hardware.
Well, and not to mention a lot of those things are actually there's some of them that are the actual full game. They just
Well, that's why I remember at the Breath of the Wild E3 in 2016, someone was trying to jack the game because the whole world was there.
Yeah.
It was impossible to present that game without having the entire world in there.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it was the full game. We don't know, but the full game world was there. We could have had the whole game world, exposed.
Yeah.
Like right after E3, if someone would have got away with jacking the cart.
And that's why I don't think they'd ever.
It wasn't a cart. They were trying to download it. But it's.
That's why I think there's another. I mean, with how many people they've got games leaked here and games leaked there.
Well, the reality is that E3 builds are usually just speaking from our 1 year that we went. And based on other people I've talked to back then, before then, and since about E3, a lot of the builds at E3 are not ready for public consumption. They are very much, we might have the entire game in here, and we just have like this one line of code that's stopping you from advancing.
Right.
Or like we have a time limit, so that's like there, but people, if they get their hands on it, they can break the time limit. This isn't even running on native hardware yet.
Right.
There's a lot of things like Assassin's Creed Origins or whatever last E3, it wasn't running natively on Xbox One X's. They claimed it was native footage. Turned out it was actually running on PC hardware because the Xbox One X wasn't really done yet. But that's common. Like people be like, "Oh my gosh, that's just what happens at E3."
Right.
When we were playing Breath of the Wild on Wii U, it had lots of issues that weren't there in the final retail release. Right. And like that's just what happens. They don't want this out in the public because it's not really ready for public consumption. Right. If it was, it would already be out in public. That doesn't mean there shouldn't be more game demos. Nintendo, I guess infamously does not release many demos of their games at all.
But then again, do you blame them? The last how many demos they've released, the game has...
Well, not from the demo, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Like Pokemon Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon didn't leak because of demos. They leaked from media members who had the full game.
True.
So it's kind of that's what Pokemon does. But
the thing is it's just kind of odd though that it just seems to be the ones that they released the demos for.
No, a lot of their a lot of Switch games have been leaked. Yeah. There's just no emulators that can play it yet.
Right.
And the Switch, even though they got homebrew on it, isn't capable of running those flash cards of that stuff yet. And probably will happen someday, like it does for every device out there. But I guess not if you want to keep your firmware up to date. Nintendo's smartly making it. Hey, if you buy legit copies of games, you gotta have certain firmware versions, and a firmware version is going to always stay ahead. Nintendo smartly combating by paying hackers to hack their system. Yeah. Kind of a smart move, Nintendo. I like that. Anyways, folks, I think that's going to do it here. I think it's this is a good kickoff to 2018.
Yeah.
Some good stuff. As I said, we should have a Patreon guest next week. Might also bring in another YouTuber. We'll see. I'm in talks with a few. As I said, I plan to have 1 or 2 guests every single week. We're kind of always going to max out it at 4. There might be a week, I guess, where all the Patreon people are available one week, and that's just whatever. We have 7 guests. I don't know how the heck my editor is going to have fun time figuring that one out.
At that point in time, it may be eyeball out or something, and
you ain't bowing out anywhere. That's going to be the one time I'll be like, you know what, Eric? Here, I'm handing you a topic list, and I'm giving you an outline of things to mention in case you can't think of anything. And I'm bowing out. I'm like, look, there's 7 other people let them talk. Eric, you just ask questions. Here's a bullet list of things to ask them. Here's the names of everyone. Have fun. Because I've said before that this podcast will happen hell or high water every single week. And I said that's whether I can do it or not. Sometimes I like to take a week off. I haven't had a week off from the podcast ever. So it might be nice to take a week off.
I've had one. Just because I was sick.
Just to catch up on sleep.
Right.
But you know how to set everything up. We've been... I just got to show you how to do the new camera stuff. But otherwise, you already know how to do the audio. You were just adjusting the audio beforehand anyways. Like, our bass was off, and then suddenly it got fixed. And I don't know what's happening. These microphones suck. Anyways, folks, I'm Nathaniel Jantz from Nintendo Prime. You can follow me on Twitter at Nate Jantz. That's also technically the official Twitter account for my new channel, which is just literally my name, Nathaniel Rumpel Jantz. Type it in on Twitter or on YouTube. It'll be the only channel that pops up. There's also we also have obviously the official Nintendo Prime Twitter at Ninty Prime. You can't follow him anywhere. He has really no social media thing to speak of besides Facebook, and he's not going to friend you on Facebook. Let's just be real. I don't even friend any of you guys on Facebook because I don't know you. My Facebook's for friends and family, man. But you can follow our Facebook page though. We do have facebook.com/Nintendo Prime, and also we're not on Instagram or anything else yet because I don't use it enough. I barely use Twitter enough to really even have a Twitter handle. So. Let's just be real here. I'm not gonna open up an Instagram or a Tumblr or anything if I'm not gonna use it. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. Like it if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. Subscribe. If you want to make sure you never miss a podcast episode or any of our other stuff, be sure to hit the bell icon. When you subscribe, there's a bell icon that lets you set your notifications to always receive notifications every time we live stream, every time there's a new video. I've actually seen a lot of people complain that, oh man, I didn't know you live stream at all. Because they're not getting notifications that we're live streaming. So that's how you fix that. You can support us also as well on patreon.com/Nintendo Prime. What are the tiers on Patreon again?
Oh, good God.
Just for the podcast related stuff.
Okay.
I won't make you memorize you don't know the other tiers. I don't even know if you know the other tiers.
Well, $1 is at least you get the podcast audio version early. No, that's $5.
That's $5.
Damn it.
$1
is the questions.
Yes, you get to submit questions to the Q&A.
Right.
You also can submit fan topics to the podcast.
I should know all this.
You should. You should. But yeah, I know you know the $5.
Yeah, the $5. And then for, oh God, why the hell? Woo, 20.
20. What do you get for 20? I mentioned earlier.
I know. You get to be on the podcast. Option to be on the podcast.
And in case you didn't catch it earlier, $5 is early access. Yes. 1 day early access to the audio version. So yeah, good times. Good times.
Yes.
There's also I was going to mention this at the beginning, but because I'm not sure if it's going to be launched yet, I'll just mention it here at the end. I've heard you guys. Some of you guys want some new merch. Either because you're tired of the design we do have, or because the design we do have just isn't really tickling your fancy. I am in the process of working on some new merchandise, working with some new vendors, trying to give more options, more places to buy things, which gives you different price variations, and different types of merchandise, and stuff that's maybe not as in your face, but then like multiple versions of my logo, maybe getting some logos up for different series we have, like Arguing with Myself whenever that launches, getting that logo on a shirt or on some cups or mugs and pencils even or something. I don't know. I'm looking at a lot of crazy stuff right now, just because I want to, if you guys want to buy Nintendo Prime merch, I want to make sure we have the kind of merchandise you want to buy. So if some of that merchandise is launched by now, I will have links to it down in the description. If it's not, just know it's coming. I'm not going to share any teasers on it. There might be a separate video. Like if I launch a bunch of new merch at once, I will probably do a video being like, hey, look. And the thing is, I probably won't even do that video until I have the merchandise in-house. Yeah. Because I don't want to be like, hey, look, we have new merch, but then like I don't own any of it, so I'm just telling you to buy something that I don't even know if it's good. Yeah. Because that's a big thing. I want to make sure I have the merch in-house so you guys can see what it looks like, and I can describe. Like, I'm not going to be like, yeah, go buy this awesome, amazing mug, and then it turns out like when you pick it up by the handle falls off.
Exactly.
Like, I need to make sure that the quality is good before I advertise people buy it. But, like as an example, the difference is like I currently use TeePublic for a lot of our merch. If I release a new logo on TeePublic, I already know the quality of their stuff, so I'll throw the links in anyways, even before the merch gets here. But because I'm looking at new vendors, I want to make sure I get their material in-house. And what sucks about that is you'd figure like you're working with a new vendor and you want samples of the stuff. Not all of them will give you those samples. You have to buy it just like everybody else. So it's like I'm paying, and the thing is, you don't even get a kickback when you buy it yourself. So it's like, I'm paying for my own design on something. I don't even get a kickback from my own design. Yeah. And you want me to use you as a vendor to sell stuff. Right. Yeah. Vendors, if you're ever listening, I know you do it for bigger YouTubers. You gotta let people who are trying to sell merch. I understand you don't want to give every person in the sun free merch, but like have you need to have 20,000 subs or something. Yeah. Or some sort of like thing in there where like I don't need to. I'm telling you, vendors, we have people who want to buy merch. Like making me try to buy it when I don't have a lot of money because I want at least one of every type of merch we have. It's not good. It's not a good look. All right. That's going to do it. Thank you for tuning in for our first podcast of 2018. I was going to have party poppers and everything, but yeah. Imagine. You know what? Editor. Get ready, editor. Find a way to make this confetti. I know you can do it. 1, 2, 3. With radon ran down. Oh yeah. All right, folks. We'll catch you in the next one.